Madam Chair, we are live.
Thank you, Mrs. DeVrock. Go ahead and call our meeting to order. We want to welcome all of you. Thanks for joining us today and being patient through our technical difficulties. Right now, I will go ahead and lead the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Open for a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second? Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Mrs. DeGraw, do we have any public comment sheets?
Nope.
The floor would be open for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair,
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Williams, did we have any purchase spending approvals?
So Madam Chair, we could actually skip 4.1 and 4.2 and move right to 4.3.
All right, next, our school calendar. I'm looking at
Two draft options. We've been talking about this calendar since January. These are the two options that have come out of the conversations. Draft number one is nearly identical to this school year. And draft number two will put more days in the fourth quarter. And so that's going to really be the difference between all of it. In the past, we've put 40 in the days in the third quarter to allow for potential snow days. I guess it's kind of hit or miss on the school year. But one of the things that we're finding also is with the fourth quarter, it's a very busy time with a lot of activities with clubs. Your FCCLA, your FFA are gone. Baseball, softball, track has gone a lot. And also, this one has spring break 1 week earlier in the month. That would allow maintenance, more time to work on fields, different things. Some people asked during these conversations, well, if we have spring break too early, does that mean the weather's bad? I think it's hit or miss when it comes to spring break. Anytime, if you're staying here during spring break, you're gonna have the chance for poor weather. Just for the board's ability to look at this, option one, our current one, Idaho Falls, Bonneville, Ryrie, Shelley, Blackfoot, Jefferson, they all have spring break that week, but you have other like Firth, Madison, Sugar, Fremont didn't have a spring break, so it is just hit or miss. There's not a set rule for that. So if we look at like we'll look at draft number one. This is our current one, just to highlight a few of the things that would be slightly different than last year. We will have a staggered start proposed on this one, where high school starts on the 14th and 15th, K through 8 on the 18th, and preschool on the 25th. The other thing that's different on this one is the 2 Fridays that were for all students would just be for high school, and we would schedule those on home football games and have an early out on those. We still have plenty of hours to meet the requirements. It does give us nearly the same amount of snow days built in, approximately 5 snow days built in through the emergency closures and the extra hours that we have with our calendar. And then you can see that in March over here on the right hand side, that would be the same time as those other school districts. If we look at option or draft 2, again, the beginning of the year is exactly the same. But this would move the spring break to March 16th through the 19th. One comment that came when we were visiting during my supervisor and admin meeting, an advantage of having spring break a week earlier would mean that you typically have some off-season tickets that might still be better if people do leave to go out of town. You might be able to find some better deals. That was just one comment that they made. One other activity that relies on spring break has been our American Heritage activity. I talked with Mr. Gore. He mentioned that to him, it doesn't matter whether it's that week or that week. And so those are some of the things with the exact dates. I did have another question that came up during the admin meeting about the start and end time. With our current start and end time, we do have shorter passing periods and still a 35-minute lunch. It's been asked, what can we do to increase lunch to be a little bit longer for high school students? To do that, we would have to start at 8 and end at 4 to increase it. You just have to find time somewhere. And so part of that is you look at, where we're bringing buses from different parts of the district, like in Hamer. And again, if kids have a longer lunchtime, I don't know any high school student who's ever like, hey, we have a longer lunch, that's gonna let us get back to school on time. I think they're probably gonna wait wherever they're at, and then Deputy Keller needs to keep an eye out for them as they're coming back to school. So those are some thoughts. I'll pause and let you guys ask me questions if you have anything. But that's really the difference between the two. The time, if we were to change it, would need to be addressed at a later meeting. Today's vote would just be basically, are we having a spring break that starts on the 23rd or the 16th of March? And I don't know, Tyson, if those harvest days look okay from the potato farmer side, or Andrea from the chopping side. I don't know if you guys have heard anything else, so I'll pause and let you guys discuss.
One comment. I don't think they need a longer lunch hour. Just throw that one out right now. Is there a good reason why they would only just?
The parents say that the kids would drive safer if they have more time. You'd cut down on tardies.
Are we having a lot of accidents?
No, but the kids, ever since I've been in school, tend to see what their cars can do at lunchtime. When you're not paying for your own car or your own tires, sometimes they like to see what they can do.
I think harvest is fine.
The harvest looks okay.
I think so.
So is there a certain amount of days that they gotta take, that we gotta give them for spring break?
No,
So when I was looking over this, is there any way we can take away 3 days of spring break and start high school on K through 8 on the 18th of August, so they're not for that fair weekend? I
this
don't
is
know.
this is the week after Fair Week.
Is it,
Yeah, so with the feedback that I had was starting, besides the fact that we're starting, like this is the sacrifice to have a 4-day school week and a 2-week harvest. Like if we're gonna have a 2-week harvest and a 4-day school week, school has to start earlier in August. That's just the way it is. But I do all of these calendars to start the week after the fair. And having the staggered one, last year was our first year doing it. It actually worked really well. I know that the teachers that shared different ones, our special ed department, they loved being able to focus in on one building at a time as those kids came in. And a concern I have, and you could break spring break up. A concern that I would have is if we took 2 days off and said these are regular days, we would have a high absenteeism on those other 2 days. I think people would take the whole week, is what I'm afraid of. But I don't know. Like, my recommendation would be to try to leave it this way, see it one more year, and then next year when we get to this point, maybe reevaluate that. Any other thoughts from you guys on that?
Scroll down to the end of
So I'm on,
May, end of school year.
so I'm on draft 1 right now, but they're the same in May.
Okay.
So
I
we
was
are,
just thinking if you took what Chris said, if you could get out
get them out
by
earlier?
Memorial Day.
But I thought about that
That's
too.
still may not bring enough time. If everything.
no, that would tighten it up a little bit. We'd have to find another Friday.
But I didn't hear this meeting, but would anyone rather go Friday versus that next week? I would, but that's me. But that could be,
One thing that I think that, because we've done it both ways, on this. Having that graduation after, I know sometimes people are like, I wanna be done with it. That does allow us 3 days of kind of like closure, and we can actually keep better academics,
More days back.
more days of academics. If you took that and you had a graduation on the 20th, and the last day, you essentially lose
Sure.
kind of a week, not really, because you'd be picking it up on other places, but the places would be picking it up on whether it's a Friday. Those tend to be lower attended days, you're not the best instructional.
Sure, okay.
So that, that earlier spring break just seems awfully still cold. You don't think that's a factor? Just seems like, well, I guess people go away for it, but
If you went away, it wouldn't really
it
matter.
doesn't matter.
When I schedule a spring break, I'm really looking for between the two quarters, between the third,
Looking to see how it would improve our school year.
like where it ends between the third and fourth quarter. I wasn't putting this
Not
based
people's
off,
convenience. and vacations.
yeah, because
Yeah,
and we've said this before, people that take vacations are gonna take them anytime during the year. They don't,
but you wanna hit the time.
we would like,
Easter, like around Easter, is it, but we always had spring break around Easter and now we don't even get close to it. But
well, Easter moves, each,
I know, that's why you put it in different places every year.
yeah. Like looking at like scheduling, like the activities at the school, because
Yeah.
you're right, I'm looking at this really from how do I schedule activities and where does it
Right.
fit between?
Yeah.
If we're looking at number 2 right now, or that basketball is finished, you've got girls' state basketball 19th, 20th, and 21st, wrestling 26, 27, 28. Boys' state basketball would go 5th, 6th, and 7th. That would allow us to finish out the quarter and then and then go into a break before but what happens with this is as we're moving into softball and the weather is bad, we haven't been scheduling games during spring break.
Yeah.
They did this year.
They did this year on the girls, they can, but sometimes when they do that, it's an optional thing and they know they're gonna miss some kids if the parents have that. But it allows Mother Nature to like work itself out. I know our maintenance crew was working on grass that was still frozen up underneath and they were trying to get games scheduled the week before spring break, which was just really rough to match up with Mother Nature. Actually, spring break was actually really nice here, and that could have been a nice time to have had games actually. And so, and it allows more time for the games before, like baseball and softball playoffs are right around this time too. So Carrie, you had a thought?
Easter next year would be April 5th, so then you would be dividing your quarter.
Yeah. And that's the thing is we would have a break, and if the spring break really was a spring break weekend where you took a Thursday and a Monday off and had 2-3 weeks, but again, I guess that comes back down to American Heritage. This happens every 2 years.
And would you then lose 2 weeks of good attendance
I don't know.
and have kids gone for 2 full weeks because, well, they're gonna be, we have Thursday and Monday, well, I can just take that first week off and that second week off and we go play for 2 weeks. So then do we have 6 days of low attendance?
Doesn't American Heritage don't think it counted as being in school? Well, they're learning.
They are,
It's a
with the
it's not
class.
an official school
for liability reasons, we don't have it as an official school activity.
activity.
All right.
It's not even a club.
One of our teachers is just doing that as an extra thing for himself.
Okay.
And Madam Chair went on her own
We own American.
American Heritage, so you know the value of
Highly
that.
recommend. My question is with the start dates. Did we run into an issue where some of the high school and junior high students are in the same classes with the same teachers and those junior high kids aren't coming until the following Monday?
That's only with elective classes and not core classes. So the answer
So it
would
should
be,
be okay.
it would be yes. That is one of the drawbacks to it.
there is an advantage for your support staff who work in both schools, in particular our special ed, to have separate start days so that they have more time to be able to transition high school students in before you transition in the rest of them.
And the high school hourly requirements are so much higher
Right,
than.
but if
than
it's
grade.
not a core class, then that doesn't bother me.
In
as
my
much.
mind, yeah, it doesn't, I was thinking the same thing.
It's just little things like that that, I don't know, there's always outlying things that you don't think about, but.
So your recommendation for the good of the school and the maintenance staff is to go that week early.
It is. It is, but if the board felt like they had other reasons to go the other way, we could support that and we roll with it. It's just,
Right.
that's one thing that, as we talked about, maintenance was one, and then trying to have more academic days available during the fourth quarter was the second reason, and that's why I would, my recommendation would be the, draft number 2.
The board members received any feedback from patrons and parents?
The only feedback I've gotten is certain individuals like having it out the same time as other local schools. Because then if they're involved in other extracurricular activities, then they're not having to miss practices. Because then everything, with those extracurriculars is put on hold while somebody else.
It looked like when you showed that other districts, little take me to that, it looked like a lot of them are out that earlier week.
Idaho Falls, Bonneville, and Jefferson, they're the ones that would
Big
probably.
ones that affect.
But, and again, we have some employees whose families go to this. I think it would be the same thing for our SRO. He's on a different one than Jefferson. I think it's hit or miss, but we also have teachers who come from the Madison, Fremont, Sugar area as well. And I don't think we'll be able to get it.
early.
Yeah.
Pros and cons with either.
Yeah. All right, give me a choice. Maybe I should just give you one.
She said, here it is. Um,
For having discussions, Tyson, when you're looking at I don't know if we extended the day longer, if that might give us an opportunity to possibly not have that last week too. That's something I could look into in the future as well, but for next year, I don't know.
No, don't extend the day, it's already long enough. Don't you think?
It's long enough, but it's,
Coming back, it would probably be more effective than. I think.
and some of those schools that I showed, they're going all the way into June, so,
Yeah.
and a lot of the other 4-day school weeks go into June
Mhm.
as well.
There's no further discussion. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the proposed school calendar of draft number 2.
Madam Chair, I move that we entertain the motion to approve the proposed school calendar of draft number 2.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. One nay. All right, that motion passes. Teacher negotiations.
future negotiations, this is just a formal process, for the board to recommend that we enter it, well, I recommend to the board that we go into teacher negotiations for the master agreement and salaries and benefits for the 25-26 school year. The board has designated me to meet with the association and do all of that as part of the process, and it's worked well the last 5 years. And so this would just be allowing me to officially reach out to the association and start for negotiations.
Spent time already.
It is.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve to enter negotiations for the 25-26 school year with the educators of West Jefferson 253.
I'm sure some of.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor? Any opposed? The motion passes. We need to set our budget and fee hearing.
So budget and fee hearing, we will do that, like we've done in previous years on the regular meeting, which is going to be Wednesday, June 11th. We've held the amended budget hearing, the proposed budget hearing, and then the fee increase hearing just prior to that. And so our meeting is set for, the regular meeting is set for 10:30. So if we could set that for 9 a.m. And just go through those three different ones where we'll present the amended budget, the proposed budget, and any of the proposed fee increases. It's been good for us to do it on the regular meeting day, so there's not an extra meeting for everybody during that time.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the budget hearing and fee hearing for Wednesday, June 11th, 2025, starting at 9 a.m.
Madam Chair, I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. We're cruising.
Yeah.
Policy review.
Wanted to bring this up just kind of as a heads up. Mrs. DeGraw and I will be going to end of session legislative road shows where they come and they tell us everything. We're trying to understand what some of the high school graduation requirement changes might be. We haven't been able to see the final like House bill numbers, but when we read in like Idaho News and different things, it's saying that graduation requirements will change slightly by adding a digital literacy component to it. And so where the school board sets the graduation requirements, if they have a new requirement for us, we will need to revisit and pull up. So here are the current requirements that we have right now for West Jefferson. And you can see that on this chart, we have a state required and a West Jefferson required. So English, speech was the one that they were thinking to remove. They were thinking of trading that out with digital literacy, but they have, they kept that in there. So we'll have to keep it in there. Mathematics 6, science 6. Now this is where world history, we require 2 credits of world history. This is going to be a conversation we're going to have if we reduce the world history as a West Jefferson required, because we need to add another one in. I don't know if we want to add more credits that's different from the state. And so that will be a conversation that we'll have to have in the future, but I just wanted to present that today. After we have the exact details from the State Department on what it looks like, we will possibly have to have in March, when we're all back, maybe a work meeting where we have Mr. Guimar and Mrs. Scott here with us and we can discuss these things.
Mrs. DeGraw, did you have something?
I was just wondering, do we have the economics requirement on here, Mr. Williams?
I believe it falls under the social, I think it falls under the social studies umbrella.
Okay.
Like the economics comes in as a social studies.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was.
Yeah, it is. It's not an exact one, but it's under that.
When did you say Mr. Collins?
They have different webinars next week, and then at the beginning of May, they'll have some others, but by then they'll have some information sent out to us that finalizes all of that. But I think that's gonna be the biggest conversation that we'll need to have is, do we want to keep world history as a required? Or we could turn world history into a dual credit class, which would attract kids that really want to be into it. Cause what happens every time we have a required credit that's not similar to others? When kids move in, it creates it's harder for us to recruit kids actually, because they're like, oh, I have to come here now, I have to take this. Possibly, this would be something that all of our current freshmen would still have to meet this as they're here at West Jefferson. Or it could even be discussed that the board decides that it's completely waived. I think those are things that this board can discuss and determine through the policy.
Sounds good. Great. Superintendent.
Kind of what I just segue into it, some of the highlights from the legislative update. These are ones that we will be talking about more as we go forward. From my viewpoint as superintendent, kind of a mixed bag, really, when it came to the way that we really were supported. If you are a fan of private schools and homeschool people being able to get funded from the state, it's been a great one for you. From the school standpoint, that doesn't really help public ed out, and so House Bill 93, I think, is going to be a detriment to us a little bit. We're not quite sure what it's going to look like. Right now, the price tag is $50 million, but it's going to be pushed already. They're saying they want to increase that next year. So our current legislative individuals, not all of them, because we've had some really good friends in the legislature. Our local and regional ones have supported education very well, and we really appreciate that. But the worry is where revenue sources aren't coming into the school, but more money is going to be able to be pushed to private school and homeschool. It's just going to make it tighter for money to flow into the public schools. A positive one from our point is House Bill 305. It removes the use it or lose it. There's a mechanism in the funding that takes away your ability to either increase class sizes or fluctuate. And if your percentage goes down, you actually lose funding. And so we weren't in a spot, we were starting to get closer to that point where we would lose funding. And it's not completely our fault, it's just the way the mechanisms put up to summarize it, they take the whole, like every school, and they rank them based on population. So you have your big schools, next level, next level, next level. And well, we would be on the third page, I'm looking at third pages. But if you are in the top part of that page, no matter what you do, you lose a percentage because they take in the percentages from the whole state, not just what you're doing in your school. So we actually started losing percentages, not based off of anything that we did with our planning, but just based off saying we have to adjust everybody else. And so this is a good one to remove because now it gives us the flexibility. There were several, well, one for sure, one district in our region that was at 0%. They had no flexibility. And so they had to hire so many teachers no matter what, even though the state wasn't funding that amount. And so that's just how and so I'm hoping in the future they could look at adjusting how they deliver the money out through the funding formula. It was set up in 1994, and it doesn't have really a rhyme or reason. It's just kind of a way that they've done it. And in some of our superintendent meetings, I made this comment to Superintendent Fitchfield: how come we can't discuss funding based on enrollment? Why does it have to be attendance? And the reason why is the legislature group that loves House Bill 93 doesn't want to even talk about enrollment for schools. And so really it's just dead because those that are in leadership will not even listen to it. They feel like they're so okay with giving money to homeschool groups, private schools, but struggle so much with us being able to fund all of our kids. So we're not funded, with the 600 kids in our district, we're funded at 584. You know, that's just kind of how it goes. And that's because it's written that way. So we're hoping that could change, but the use it or lose it was a positive thing that happened, and we'll take it. Graduation requirements, go ahead.
I found where it was put in.
Oh.
It was not a bill. It was done through what is called the standard rulemaking process. And so the State Board of Education proposed it. The legislation didn't rule on it before the legislative session is over, so now it is a requirement.
Because it's a proposed rule that wasn't acted on one way or another, and
Correct, so it was by the standard rulemaking process. Okay, so not a bill. That's why we couldn't find the bill.
that's why we couldn't find the bill, but it's still a requirement that
It
we
is
will
still a
make.
requirement, yes.
So a couple others just that will impact us. There is a Senate bill that had cursive as part of it. And that last one should be say Senate,
What did they say about cursive?
they just keep doing it,
Required in third grade?
required through 5th grade.
through fifth?
Yeah, so we already have it. We'll just continue to do that. We'll get guidance from the State Department on
Interesting.
what that looks like. And then Senate 1007, public comment at school board meetings has been adjusted, with some different things. So we'll be working on the budget process with some state webinars. We've got to wait for our insurance quotes. When we get our insurance quotes, we have an idea of how much we'll be able to go in and offer to the teachers. All right, so maintenance department, we got, Mr. Miller is in here. He's been doing some research on some trees. We're gonna buy some trees and put them here and replace them here in the front as we're working on different things. Remind me the type of tree that was.
Green Spire Linden.
Green,
Fired.
Green Spired Linden is the one that did the research on. And so we'll be working on that. I'll just keep going here because we do have, I'm glad you're here because we'll have a football field update on the next item. Food service, we'll have the board barbecue on May 20th. And Mrs. Ward is working on a lot of different things with her end of year federal programs things. There's some changes with the new Trump administration. And as it comes to food services, I know she's working through all of that as well. A lot of moving parts. Transportation has a program, bless you. Transportation has a program review next week. And I'm just gonna go through some quick hitters. High school and junior high choir concert was before spring break. Here's a couple examples of some projects that Mr. Hogue has had in his woodworking class. This is Boone Burgers, or is that? Yeah, Boone's working on a boat, so I was helping unload some wood yesterday, and I asked Mr. Hogue is he gonna grade this by taking him out to Mud Lake, putting him in, and if he makes it back. He makes it back safely, he passes the class and can graduate, so we'll see.
He doesn't go well.
Have that, so those are some fun things. I know the woodworking class is a class a lot of the kids like to go to, and appreciate Mr. Hogue with
Now,
that.
excuse me, but could you use the boat like that for your senior project?
I don't know,
If you do it in school,
I have,
as a school project?
I don't know.
That
about
would have to be approved by the senior project committee.
Yeah,
I
as
see.
long as the committee approved it.
I see.
So, the SAT, yesterday, the juniors came in, there were 55 of them that came in, took the SAT. This test was paid for with advanced opportunities, graduation requirement. Monday, next week is senior project night. That's April 14th here at the ALC gym. Looks like that is going to be at 6:30. Oh, no,
Is it 7?
sorry, I should go bigger on that one. It is 7 PM for parents. So if the board is around, please come. Community members come and watch, be able to walk through the presentations of the seniors, put a lot of hard work into it. I'm sure Mrs. Scott will have some treats, and she always does a good job with bringing treats. I might come for the treats and the presentation, so, yeah. Scholarship night is May 12th, if you want to put that on your calendar. That will be the West Jefferson Auditorium. This was a really cool thing that we did right before spring break. So the Rural Skidmore VHF, Veterans of Foreign War, VFW, thank you, I had to get that acronym. Justin Sauerbaum reached out last year to Mrs. Scott and myself, and he's on a group that is trying to get plaques into the schools of fallen soldiers, just to commemorate them. And so here at West Jefferson, Burl Skidmore was a student at West Jefferson, and he died in action in Vietnam. And they brought this plaque to commemorate his service and just that his memory and legacy isn't forgotten. On the right, you can see these are siblings of Burl. They had over 40 family members and friends, close friends that were able to come. Mrs. Scott put on a presentation. They had a slideshow. The students were there. It was a really good opportunity for us as a community to not forget Burl Skidmore and what he did. They talked. His brother came in and talked a little bit about him as a high school student and just some of the memories that they had of him. And you know, it's one of those things that he did die 2 years after he was a student here, so his life was cut short. His daughter was here as well, and so his daughter, who never got to know him, she was born after he had passed away. But his older brother, his older brother, I can't remember his name, Max. He shared a story about a letter that he received from Burl after Burl got to Vietnam. And he just talked about the poverty and the different thing that he saw over there. And he wrote in his letter that he was so proud to be from the United States, to be able to be fighting for our way of life, to be able to, for democracy and freedom. And he was just hoping that, you know, that all of us could just be grateful for what we have. And he just said he was grateful for the way that he was raised and just to be able to see that when he was like there. And, you know, that letter came in February and he was killed shortly after, I believe early May, in a battle. And he talked about how it was a battle that they were waiting for reinforcements from the Native Army members that were there that just didn't show up. And he says in his mind, he can see his brother just giving it his all because he was one of the first ones injured. And that's one reason why they were able to get his body out, because they did send in the medevac, because he was probably one of the first ones that was injured. And so they were trying to do life-saving measures on him before he came back. But heartbreaking to see it, you know, we're, you know, so many years, decades past that time, but I thought it was a good tribute. Mrs. Scott put on a luncheon for him, a light luncheon here at the auditorium. So I can't thank Justin Sauerbaum for reaching out, organizing all of this, getting these plaques, for Mrs. Scott organizing it, and also the Skidmore family for coming and doing that. It was a really neat experience. So. A few other things just to finish up. Junior high spring sports, they have almost half the 2 grade levels, 3 grade levels. 45 students are participating in track right now, and so that's through 6th and 8th grade. They did really well their first one. They are at one today. Elementary had their preschool and kindergarten screener. I don't have the exact numbers of some of the preschoolers, but when I talked to Mrs. Briggs, she said that there were more that came in that she got. So it's always good to know that there's more students wanting to come here. Terraton Elementary had a reading activity where they read over nearly 5,000 books. You can see that 4,500. Here's just a picture of all the kids in the elementary. And then Hamer Library tonight, hopefully all the people that are watching can go to the dessert book night at the Hamer Library up in Hamer. These activities were done before spring break, but just wanted to highlight them. At the high school play, I went all week. They had 2 casts. I think most of the board was able to make it to that. I was there every night since I had a son in it. It was not switching that, but it was a good good showing by the community. Nearly every night was nearly full. You had the Blacklight Wrestling event, and then you had the senior showcase where Maggie Barrientos and Kale Campbell for the girls and Raleigh Calder and Tate Simmons were selected to go to that. And just a update with Coach Higgs, our speed and performance. And so one of the things that Coach Higgs does is he has speed signs and he clocks the kids when they reach a certain mile per hour. And when you reach that, you get to sign that. So I know, like for the boys, we've had some high school kids. Raleigh Calder has signed it, Walt Pancari, Mac Hall, Justice Burnshaw. And then this picture here is actually an 8th grade student. So the ones I mentioned were other juniors or seniors. That's Boston Lounsbury. Coach Higgs says in there that in his 7 years of doing that, he's his first 8th grader to ever hit the 20-mile-an-hour club. And so impressive. And
So 20 for the boys and 17.
20 for the
girls.
boys and 17 for the girls. So Xavier DeVille was our first one. And then here's a picture of Oakland Young. Been working hard to hit that. Now he will buy a 21 to 22 mile per hour because he's hoping to get those boys to keep pushing towards that other one. But Coach Higgs comes 4 times a week at night. Every time I've been over there, there's been almost 20 kids or more. So it's been a great investment. The kids are supportive of it. I know Boston, the last time at the track meet, was number 1 overall in the 100 meter. But then he also broke the school record in the shot put. So you have the fastest kid who can throw the shot put the furthest. Good athlete. So just wanted to highlight that. So that's a few things on superintendent report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good things are happening. All right. Welcome to football field.
All right, so I brought Andy, you're in here a little bit. We have the football field project. You have a second just to kind of tell the board kind of where we're at in that process.
So we had to, rather than getting a 3% bond, we elected to just pay a 20% down payment. So we sent that off yesterday. They'll receive it tomorrow, according to our tracking. Now, once they have that, it will officially go on to the sewing machine. He called yesterday to see what the earliest date he could get on the field is, which would be May 21st. State tracks like the 15th through the 17th, and Monday, Tuesday, they want to clean up all their stuff out there, and then they can start and move along the 21st. So they are very excited to get going, and I'm very excited for them to get going. And then as soon as that's done, the track project is about a 10-day project start to finish. So we're still looking good to get everything done before.
That's not bad.
So we're looking at potentially, we don't want to put a date, but mid-July, the football field should be in and ready to go. And then the track 10 days later.
So what he was talking about with the 3% bond is you either have to go out and get what they call a bond, which is a guarantee of payment, but then you have to pay a 3% interest on it.
It's a payment and performance bond.
And where we had it already available.
We already had the cash
We decided
available.
so we did a down payment first and then we'll pay the rest when it's done. One thing we did learn about the turf, we've had individuals ask us, and even we thought, hey, when this turf is done, we might be able to reuse it for different things or give it away, different things like that. So the one question that some people have asked, well, can we use it for the baseball field? It wouldn't be best practices to take a 20-year-old turf and then repurpose it for a baseball field. To put it on a baseball or softball field, we would have to come in and do the groundwork, the dirt work. And then if we're gonna do that, you're gonna wanna put new turf down on that. It's just, there's more than just laying a piece of turf out and calling it good. You have to make sure that the base is correct. You have to have the supports along the sides that tie it down. And so that is not an option for us. The second thing that we learned is, in our mind, we thought that this company would come in and basically vacuum up all the pellets, which would leave just the turf without the heavy pellets in it. From what Mr. Miller was saying, you can correct me anytime if I deviate. that they will come in and leave the pellets on, roll it up, take it back and repurpose every bit of that. So it's not, I understand it's
They
not,
grind it and make the shock pad. that goes
The shock
underneath it.
pads.
That's what that's made of.
so it will be repurposed and not put into a landfill. Initially, we were thinking that we could maybe keep some rolls, put them to the side, use them. But then as we discussed it, we didn't want to have rolls of turf stuck just over along the side or even at the bus barn, or like we'd have to find a place to store it. The other thing is we can't remove it because we don't have equipment that can lift the seven, that they cut it in 7 feet,
7.5.
7.5 feet, they'll cut it down, leave it all in. We could probably ask a farmer to bring a big loader, but then we would probably be damaging the base. We want to keep that base. And so what we're saying is we aren't going to have any of the old turf. The company's gonna take it all and repurpose all of it. And so if people are asking about what can we do, we say that it's going back with the removal process.
Do they give you any kind of kickback for taking the old turf and letting them repurpose it?
No, that was part of the removal and disposal.
Oh.
Cost. So, like Shane was talking about the base, there's a $29,000 charge built into the field too, for regrading anything they need to fix on the base. But if it's only light regrading they have to do, then we're not writing it up or messing with, we'll get refunded that.
Okay.
Yes, so really it's built in, but if they come in and do it, we know they're not gonna mess it up.
Mhm.
And so we should be able to actually have almost 30,000 kicked back to us that we don't pay out. But those are anything else, like when it comes to the turf that people have asked or,
The biggest thing was, what are we doing with it? We had a gentleman that wanted us to donate the entire 80,000 square feet for the RC airport or something. But the videos we had watched was they took the infill out of it, cut it, rolled it up, and that was easy for us to make the skid steer. So asking them, they said that's not their specific process. They just cut it, roll it all up, and they cut it at 7.5 feet to run on flatbeds. And haul it off.
and it will, and the other thing is it ensures that it's gonna go in, they do this all the time, it just keeps them on schedule. If they were waiting for us
We don't have any delays.
to get out there, not taking anything on Andy's
No, that's.
skid steer driver
stuff happens.
skills or
Stuff happens.
our luck is would have a breakdown or something.
Yeah.
We're still gonna remove the track
Yes,
for that $18,000 savings, but the turf there.
So what do you do with the old track?
Do you want it?
I'm just kidding.
I don't know,
Just
I don't-
drive it down the road to the dump.
I think we would just drive it to the dump.
I didn't know if it could be repurposed.
Well, my thought was the gravel back there by the Onyxes, we could kind of coat that, but I don't know what kind of chunks it's gonna come out in yet.
Yeah.
If we need to get a grinder to grind it and then do it, I don't know yet, but,
We could explore that, that's one thing I haven't thought of, but
well, that was with the infill too, was to maybe cover the gravel back there, and then put a sealer on it to act kind of like asphalt. But we have to see how it comes up and then what it would take to actually put it down in that stage to put it down.
so that's good, the project's on target, you know, we were able to get it, at least that scent, I'm gonna get it into the sewing machine mill and be working on it, so.
So the agreement with Bank of Commerce, did that include that the sign pointing to the field with the name
Yes,
needed to be done before school started?
they'll want it
yes.
done.
Before school starts, but once we get the actual process going, then we'll meet with we already met with their marketing
Marketing.
group. And they're gonna follow back up with us, but they will pay for all of that. To be able to be put in, they're gonna pay for their insignia in the field. So that will all be decided in the next couple of months, probably.
Okay.
But it will be helpful to have something out there by the road, like, it would be nice to be able to put something on the other side, but I don't know if the state transportation department would allow that. I'm not sure.
Did they decide, or maybe it'll come in this decision you're talking about, did they decide if it was lump sum or over 10 years.
We have not heard.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
guess we'll find out when we get the money.
But excited about that. Thank you, Andy, for that. So, any other questions before?
Leadership Institute, that's coming up.
Anybody that wants to attend that, just let Mrs. DeGraw know and she'll get you signed up for it.
Sounds good.
So I don't know if there's anything else on
Where
that.
is it? Where? I think it's in Idaho Falls somewhere.
Is it at their district office maybe?
I'm not
It
sure.
said on
This
my
is-
little flyer, it's Idaho Falls.
This is a different one than when the board all gets, like, all the different board members get together. This is a special training that ISD is doing, that the board members can pay for to attend. Well, that the district would pay. for the
It would
board
be
members to
covered.
attend.
Through your. Calendar.
So, a work meeting.
I think we wait to schedule a work meeting until we find out the details
On the
on the legislative one. A couple of things that I'd like to look at is just in this work meeting, talk about graduation requirements, the different classes, the credits,
Find out which other policies we're required to adopt.
which other policies would adopt and be able to discuss policy during that next meeting.
Okay.
That would be what we're, but, so to be determined still. Yeah.
Next meeting is the next regular meeting is scheduled for April.
Can you hear me?
And our other events, it looks like we have senior projects, April 14th, scholarship night, May 12th, and the board barbecue on May 20th. So,
That's it. Glenda, you'll be able to help out again?
I got our own calendars.
Excellent.
is there anything else that needs to be discussed?
No?
All right, or I'll be open to my motion to adjourn.
Good, chair, absolutely.
Or a second. All those in favor? This meeting is adjourned.